All right. So let's say you're trying to you know, you then specify like how you want your data, how you want the data to be stored because it's your job as a data analyst. Let's say the manager then reached out to you that okay fine. Let's say reached out to Blessing for example, and then be like Blessing, my company obviously based on its own perspective is doing well, but he also wants to know how well he's doing because obviously he has a competitor, right? So he wants to know how well his company is doing relative to their competitors, right? Their performance, and basically keep track of their informations, right? And they don't have anything, they don't have any lead on what to even keep track of. Basically, they don't know what to keep track of. They don't know anything that is going to help them, measure their worth or measure their progress. So that is where you come in as an analyst to sit them down and be like, okay, fine. You have to gather your data sets, and when you gather them, you have to gather some things that you're going to need because obviously not every information is needed. You have to scrap some unnecessary informations out. So it is your job to be like, okay, fine, you want to keep track of your company's information, right? So you save this, you save the customer details because customers are basically the business, right? So save the customer details, do this, do that, do this, do that. Then you go to the deep database aspects where it comes to mapping out the ER diagrams, which I'm going to explain, in our later classes when we get to SQL, the data mapping and everything. And sometimes, when it comes to data aspects, the data collection aspect, sometimes you might have to collaborate with a data engineer. That is if you're working with a big company. Then, after you've done that, then you make sure data is well cleaned. That is where data cleaning comes into place. And then you begin your analysis, which is basically extracting the insights. And to give you a brief overview, I think I did one Excel analysis here for a student too as well actually. So trying to just give me a moment to furniture sales. All right. So let's say because this let's say this is the business we want to analyze to check the progress of the company, right? So we've gotten our informations and we've cleaned our data set because data cleaning basically involves removing the inconsistent values, misspelled words, make sure it is well spelled and well structured and arranged into rows and column, which is an Excel standard, like the way it is here, is segmented into rows and columns, right? And then make sure everything is well done. They'll begin our analysis, which then involves our basic Excel calculations, formulas, and functions that we are going to talk about. Pivot tables, um, you know, sorry, the pivot tables, and move on to the dashboard. So then this is the insights. Like this is the insights. This is the data. This is the insights. So now the manager now knows that okay, he has made over 742K dollars worth of sales in his business in the space of I think 4 years or so. Let's say it's okay. Okay, yeah. In space of 4 years, 2014, yeah. In space of 4 years, because it was 2011, 2013, I could remember. In space of 4 years, he has made $742,000 worth of sales, and over 8,000, worth of goods has been sold. So that way, these are the insights that the manager has been able to know in his company, and then you've done your work as an analyst. So that is exactly what you are doing as a data analyst. Your work does not pass data, um, information, and then insights. So It goes this way: information, data, then insights. Then you might want to jot that down basically. So I believe I've answered your question. Let me go back to my. I believe I've answered your question. Neymar. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So who else? Okay. So now Mustafa, to your question, you're trying to say that how can I start? In your words, basically, you said, how can I start making practice for perfection since I need the data to work before using our Excel function? So two things basically, and I'm going to buttress this. For everyone working with starting data analysis for the first time, there's nothing bad with first of all, working with demo data. And what I mean when by demo data, I mean um a data set that looks like a company's data set. So sometimes they can be large enough, like 1,000 rows, and sometimes they can be small, depending. But it's better to start small because this is a process. You can't start, you can't be born today and want to start running today. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. So you have to, start small. So it's advisable to, can create a scenario in your head like business information. So, like for example, what I mean by creating scenario in your head is okay, control N. So you can create a scenario in your head whereby you have a business information. I use business a lot because I'm more of a business. I'm more into business analysis basically because that is what I can relate to mostly. And some people go into health as well. Or, so let's say customer name. You know, you can input data by yourself. I'm not going to input the whole data basically. I just want to show you an example. So quantity of good spots, and then start working by yourself, input it, make it 10 to 20 responses. That is enough to work with. And then start inputting your formulas and functions in Excel. You can start using the sum function, the aggregate functions, basically logical functions, then this basically will make you ready to advance into working with the big and advanced, um, you know, larger data sets. So first of all, you have to start small, you know, then now to go to the advanced data set, there are websites that gives you access to data. Now, one of them and the most common one basically is Cargo. So, how many of us have heard about Cargo? You can basically just signify by an emoji or anything basically. How many of us have heard about Cargo? I believe you can see my screen though. Can we also see my screen? Because I need to basically, okay, okay, all right. So Cargo is basically a website that's we can get similar data sets that looks like a company information. So it basically contains data for different categories. We have business categories, healthcare, even for advanced analysis like machine learning and statistical analysis for those of us into statistics or that we want to go into statistics basically. So if you want to get data sets from Cargo, you go to the Cargo website, you create an account. I already have an account here basically. This is me, and the account years old actually. So this is my overview, and this one doesn't matter basically. So if you want to get the data set, you just click on the data set section, right? And then you get your data set. This is data sets that this with Discord. But no, these are also some categories that you can work with, and you can search sales, and it's going to bring down some data sets related to sales, health. So you can get diabetes, and then when you click on it, it's going to give you a preview, and you can check the columns as well. BMI, this body mass index. Then we get a preview of our data sets and the likes. So I believe I've answered your question. Then the next person, which is saying, good evening, sir. My question is from the number 5 of the salesperson assignment. The product classification question. How are we supposed to determine how are we supposed to determine which products are premium and which products are standard? All right. There doesn't seem to be specified criteria or threshold in the question. So now let me go back to the question, and why I do that, the few all that are currently available should probably drop your matric number. Thanks for joining. So to you all just joining, can you please introduce yourselves as well? That is how we do. Okay, so I'm going back to the question now. Okay, based on my word document. All right. So I believe you cannot see my. I don't have question 5 here. I question stop, that's question 4. I believe you are talking about this basically. Your product classification. All right. So okay, yeah, actually, yeah, I get you. The question is actually incomplete. There's supposed to be a criteria. Like for example, if if sorry, if there are at least 50 boxes shipped, or more than 50 boxes shipped, it should be classified under as a priority. If not, then not a priority or a minor concern, something like that. So yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Actually, I didn't say that, but uh there should be a criteria because it's an if function, and I believe in the recorded video I made mention of what an if function is, right? Can someone who is probably bold enough explain the concept of an if function to us before I then uh before I continue, because I need to know if we actually learned something, if all of us basically learned something from the recorded classes. Okay, I'm going to give us 3 minutes and then I continue. If I can't get an answer in 3 minutes, then I'm going to continue. Um, you know, although I'm going to re-explain it though.
You're asking
Yeah.
someone to explain the if function, right?
All
Okay,
right.
I want to give it a try. Okay. So I think the if function is for us to give a desired answer for like a set of data. So for example, when you want to use an if function, it gives you a result if the criteria is true, and it gives you the other results if that particular column does not meet the criteria. I think that is what an if
Exactly. Yeah,
function
you're
is
right,
used for.
basically. You're right. That is what it is actually. You know, it's not more than that really. You specify a category, and you know, do you also know the importance, when to use it? We cannot just use it anyhow. You also need to know when to use it, because basically all these Excel formulas and functions all have their usefulness. We can't want to get the total revenue or the total number of students in this class currently, and you'll be using the maximum function. Or for example, you cannot want to get like for example, let's say um you want to know the amount of students that is going to be here if they have an internet connection currently on their phone or on their system, and you're using the count function. It doesn't work that way. So you need to know the importance as well. So an if function is basically useful when you have a criteria they are trying to meet. So for example, if a particular person meets the pass mark of this course, return pass, and if it does not, return fail, or return you know below par or below average. All right, so I'm going to basically do a recap of everything we've done so far. And before I do that, I'm going to answer that question number 5. Right. Okay, sorry. That's one it tab so far basically. Which one of them are important? Like this. Give me a 1 minute though while I try it. So all right. So I'm going to create a new. All right. So I'm going to create a new colon. So I'm going to right click on my on the last second to the last colon basically, or the last colon depending on your priority. But I want to create a new colon. Sorry. Let's do it like this. All right. So I want to new colon to be um after the box shift, because that is our concern. So obviously, the higher the box shift, the higher the quantity of goods purchased. Obviously, you can't be shipping 150 boxes, and the amount of goods that is in the box is going to be like 50. You know, even if it is 50, because due to the large masses, it's indicating that there's a linear relationship between the higher boxes shipped. Just like, for example, take crates of minerals, for example. The higher the number of minerals, the more the goods that are going to be shipped, right? That is why we have, trailers and the likes to, transport the goods. So the higher the goods, the higher the goods, the higher number of boxes that are going to be responsible to ship the goods. And obviously, you can then, if you use that as a criteria, okay, I think I need to grant someone an access. Welcome. Although you're a bit late though, this is 35 minutes into the class, but I believe you can still be able to grab something though. So we can, sorry, please, can you mute your mic? It's kind of affecting us. All right, thank you. Um, I can decide to name this priority, right? Or yeah, priority. Although I named it as a concern rate basically, but I named it as a priority. So this basically was me. I've probably done the, okay, I don't know though. So you're going to use the if function, right? So, and I believe I said earlier that although I didn't state it there, and I'm even glad someone even came up with the correction that yeah there should be a criteria because you cannot just categorize something without having a category to it, and I'm actually impressed. So, all right,
Uh, sorry, sir. Yeah, I think it was written that it should be over 50. The boxes shipped should be over 50. Then it's a
okay.
priority. But if
Maybe
not, I
yeah,
think it was
but it
stated in the
should actually,
question.
but I don't know why I'm not seeing it here. I'm not seeing it before. Probably in the classroom or the document I sent. Maybe I later wrote it though. Oh, okay. So yeah, I can't.
Okay, that was for
Yeah, I
number
can't even
4,
find
not
question five
5.
in the document. I
Priority
believe there are four
question is number
questions I
4.
sent though. I don't know. Can someone type the fifth question in the comments box while I explain this one? So we are going to use the if function and store that right equals to if, right? And then it's asking me to put in my logical test. Like the logical test basically is indicating that um, the criteria, like for example, G2, which is going to be done by clicking on the cell G2, and someone is going to ask me as well that how do I know it is G2? Because this is colon G, this is the second row. That is how Excel basically does its numbering for each particular cell. So this particular cell is basically D4 and D5, sorry, and this is E2. So it's not really much of a big deal. And then we want it to be greater than 50, right? According to the way it was specified, greater than 50, right? Then a comma, then our return value, right? It's called the return value. That is what you want it to return if the particular criteria is being met, and what you want it to return if the particular criteria is not met. So priority, right? Else minor concern, because obviously as a company we are basically interested in the higher purchase. So uh, if it doesn't meet our criteria, then what's the point? Basically just put it as minor issues. So minor concern. All right, and then who can like tell me what to do next? Because now we only have for one row, but we need for the whole. How many rows do we have basically down? For the whole 1,000 rows, who have an idea of what I'm about to do? Okay, it's not trying to clear. All right. So there's something we call a filling down in Excel. Uh, Probably I've encountered this in the video as well. The filling down is basically an Excel mirroring your calculation for every other single rows in the worksheet. So instead of trying to do the whole calculations manually, you can just drag it down, and it's going to calculate it by itself. As you can see, 24 is minor concern, and if you double click on this and you go to the function bar, you're going to see the calculation being mirrored. All right. So is there any question as regards to this before we move on? Do we have any questions so far? Yeah, what's up?
Good afternoon, sir. My question, my question based on this inform concerning the highlighting it manually. Also, is there another way we can use to like a short
Is
form
it for if I
to
get a question, are you talking
like if
about,
you
for
want to
example, now
highlight
that
it
I've categorized
manually?
it,
Is there another way?
do you mean we should highlight, for example, minor major priority should be highlighted, then minor priority should be highlighted as well, or if I get a question, like, are you trying to say that, for example, now that I've gotten it, for example, priorities should be highlighted in, for example, green color, you know, if I get a question though, or is that not what you're trying to say? Okay.
No, I mean that as we have repeated the formula, so now we want to make the same approach for the rest of the column. So, like when we want to highlight it manually. So I'm just asking that is it that we just is there another way
Okay.
to highlight it
Okay,
without
so if I get a
doing it
question, like
manually
now that
and
I've done for the
the
first
answer
row,
to we get
do
the
you have
answer
to
for
enter
the
manually
rest
to do it
of
for the
the
second row as well?
data
That's what I was trying to
analysis?
say.
Yes, I mean that. I mean like you know
Okay.
I'm not going to do another formula for the second row. Like when you're trying to highlight everything manually. So is there like another formula you can use? Like if you want to highlight. Because I think that when I was trying to highlight, I've not read
Okay. Not that I
anything
know
from
of
the last
actually,
term. So my
but
highlighting was not
this is the
I was not really
best
fast with it.
way possible. It's kind of reduces stress. Now I've worked with 1,000 rows, 1,000 other rows without actually having to retype calculations manually, because now that I can click on each and every one of those rows, because we both know this is a new column that we created, right? And basically has to group from priority to non-priority, major concerns to minor concerns, and the likes. So we can do it automatically by filling down in Excel. So you can then possibly highlight. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to want to rename this concern rates, right? Then highlight cell, text that contains priority, right? Probably need it spelling. Oh, I wrote priority. Sorry. Now I have to go and correct it. Priority. All right. So if you want to go back up to the first column, you just press Ctrl Shift up, and it's going to take you up. So you can go back to your conditional formatting, highlight sales rates, and text that contains then priority highlighted as a green text. All right. I want to delete this actually. So that is how it's done actually. And now moving on to the question 5, can someone please Help me type question 5 in the comment section because I can't find it here. At least that I know of. Okay. Um. Okay, I believe the name is kind of hard to pronounce. But there's this particular person that was saying that the question is from number 5 from the salesperson assignment for the product classification question. How we supposed to determine whether the products are premium and or standard. So coming. All right. So basically, like I said earlier, okay, call extends in 15 minutes. All right. Okay. So like I said earlier, okay, now to answer this question, like I know of, since no one actually responded to that. Okay, yeah, I've seen it. Question 5, how can we classify products into premium and standard categories? So basically, classification works this way. The higher your the higher the product amount, the higher the product's price basically, the higher the product's price, the larger the rate, the larger the level. So basically, you're working with an if function as well. It's basically the same as the fourth question. It's also an if function when we tend to categorize something. But now they are classifying products. Obviously, okay. Now, if I may ask, okay, and I think this person waiting to join. This is 3:49. 11 minutes to the end of this class. So, if I may ask, you know, this is just a random question that anybody can answer, but um, to you, as an analyst, upcoming analyst, basically, what do you feel we can use to classify a product as standard or um, premium? No, what can we use as our classification, as our means of classification? 3 minutes to answer to anybody who can answer the question. I don't know if you can answer actually in 3 minutes, and if you can't, I'm going to explain myself. Anyone basically. This is day 50.
We can just use this criteria that if the product amount is greater than the average of all of the products, the
That is a very
average amount of all of the
nice
products, then
fact.
it's
That is beyond
premium,
expectation. That is exactly what you want to
and
do.
if not, it's
Or we can
standard.
do that, or if we can also do it in such a way that if the manager in charge has specified the particular targets to meet. For example, let's say they specify the targets that if the product amount is around $5,000 basically, it should be as it should be classified as premium, but if not, it should be classified as standard. That is one. But if nothing was given, the most appropriate way to classify is to use the average, because that is the mean of central tendency, and that is a very very nice opinion. In fact, that is very very nice. So to do that, and because of our time, and I believe we've all gained something at this so far. I'm going to create a new column. Sorry. Insert, right, and I'm going to name this classification, product classification. Yeah, product classification. Classification. Right. All right. So I'm going to use the if function. So if average then control shift down. All right. Then premium, right, and else standard. So you can see basically what I did, although this is more complex than the one I might have given you, because I did recall making mention of an average function using the average. Well, this is so this is if you were not given any criteria, the best way to do is to use an average, because that is the mean of central tendency. Basically one of the standard ways to measure and to classify. Then you can follow the same procedure as well, by filling down. I'm not going to highlight as green or red that one. I don't know, it's up to you if you want to, because due to my time, and I might actually do it too, depending. All right. So I'm kind of getting an error, as you can see in the green section. So anytime you see a green arrow on your screen, basically just know it's an error. So this can probably to the small average. All right. Okay. Welcome
Sorry, sir.
to the class.
Someone said he's trying to
Right.
join
And
the call.
we can do that. Or let's say we have a specified. Sorry, I'm still trying to debug this particular issue. So I'm coming. All right. So equals to if uh, the amount is greater than average. Let's do it another way. Average, AVARAGE, right? Sorry. Then, sorry. Let's get our dollar sign to lock the particular cells. Probably type it manually. Sorry. So we can so the first cell, so the sorry, maybe this way. Also average is comma premium, then standard. All right. So I believe this is correct. So we then drag it down. You're still getting an error. First one, the first row actually works, but when it comes to or we can actually also do it this way. The second criteria, if and for example, if the sales is greater than $5,000, for example, uh should be categorized as standard. But if not, then premium. Sorry, if not, then yeah, premium. Okay, if it's greater than $5,000, it should be premium. Then if not, then you can also make it, then we're going to make it as standard. So to do that, you can then products. Okay, let me just write classification, right? Okay, I'll leave that basically. Classification, then so if sorry, equals to if, right, then this is greater than 5,000, then premium, then else standard. Our class is going to end very soon. Fine. Sorry. So that is how it is basically. Then it's classified into standard and premium based on the criteria that we've based upon to it. So before the end of this class, basically, because it ends in a minute, do we have any question? Oh, good.